Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios, the full breakdown. Now Ryan Garcia says the rowdy loss was deeper than one bad night. Broken prep, a body that wouldn't cooperate, and a fighter who looked mentally checked out. Now his dad takes the reins while Joe Goosen stands across the ring with the blueprint. Barrios brings height, patience and questions from the Pacquiao fight. But where was the jab, the pressure and the gears? Can he erase Ryan Garcia's left hook, or will Ryan Garcia's speed and counters end it fast? Let's talk about it. Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios, the full breakdown. Now in this video, we'll be covering the following. We'll be looking at the Ryan Garcia interview because this discusses the context of his loss to Romero, the trainer issue, and also the context of fighting a taller boxer. Then we'll switch lanes and then look at Barrios, specifically assessing his fight against Manny Pacquiao. We will look at what he did well and what he did badly. And then we'll do some simple analysis, asking the important questions that surround the fight. So let's get straight into this Ryan Garcia interview. And it's important to recognize that interviews can give us perspective. They can give us perspective into a fighter's psychology. And at times it can unveil the mask. Now the interviewer asks a question to Garcia and he states, what went wrong? What went wrong in the Rolly fight? And Garcia's reply wasn't singular because he said many things went wrong. For example, the preparation was problematic. Therefore, he went into the fight knowing deep down that he was not at his best. He used this figurative language saying his hands were tied behind his back and he had actual physical issues with his body. And he gave some context. He said he couldn't train for more than 2 days straight. And I believe he said he was chucking up blood. My question to that would be why? Why did he have these issues? And it would appear that my observation would be that Garcia was not only fighting Rolly Romero, he was actually fighting himself. So he was fighting Rolly and he was fighting himself, specifically his physical self. He also stated that, he was disinterested in the fight. So what was the learning curve from that? For me, the learning curve that Ryan Garcia can take from this is that it's important when you go into a fight that you're the best version of yourself. And of course, there's this context of the dad being the head trainer. And is that a good idea? Me personally, I like co-trainers. I remember when Evander Holyfield, the great legendary Evander Holyfield, had Tommy Brooks and Don Turner, and that was a really good partnership. And I believe that co-trainers, when it's done effectively, they can harvest the best boxing environment because what one trainer misses, the other one catches. But we have to ask the question, will Garcia's dad be able to create the boxing environment that is optimal? Yes, he has the experience to create a good boxing environment, but can he create an optimal boxing environment? So as the interview progresses, we then have the trainer issue. And just to contextualize this, the former trainer, Joe Goosen, is in the other corner. So Joe Goosen used to train Ryan Garcia, but now he's training Barrios. Here's something to consider. When the enemy knows you, is that not a disadvantage? Ryan Garcia feels that it's actually an advantage for him because he knows Joe Goosen's strategies and techniques. So the logical perspective or the immediate perspective is that the trainer knows the fighter and that's an advantage. But then the fighter knows the trainer. So is that advantage taken away? And does having your former trainer in the opposite corner, does it create a psychological edge for the opponent? Here's another question. Is boxing really an individual sport? People always claim that they step into the ring on their own, and there's some truth to this. You're the one throwing the punches, you're the one taking the punches. But is boxing not a collaboration with trainers, strength and conditioning coaches, sports psychologists, sparring partners, nutritionists, etc. Is boxing really an individual sport, or is it an individual sport that has massive elements of collaboration? And here's another question. How important is a trainer? If you take Lennox Lewis and Vladimir Klitschko, the great Emanuel Stewart, arguably one of the greatest trainers of all time, he took those fighters, both of those fighters, Lennox Lewis and Vladimir Klitschko, and they were good fighters, but then he was part of making them great fighters. So from that perspective, if we accept that premise that Emanuel Stewart was important from their development from good to great, that would mean that trainers are significant. And therefore the trainer issue in this fight against Ryan Garcia and Barrios is a big issue. And then we have the notion of fighting a taller fighter. Has he being Garcia, fought people this tall? And what is the advantage of being tall? Well, the immediate advantage is reach. But again, Garcia states that he knocks out tall people historically. My question would be, what context is he referring to? Is he referring to amateurs and or professionals? And where is the evidence of this? And if we accept this premise, does that mean that Garcia will actually be better against a taller fighter? But then there's that real danger that Barrios presents, and that's having good counter-punching ability. This could be majorly problematic for Garcia. So let's make a transition and let's talk about Barrios. And in discussing Barrios, let's talk about the Manny Pacquiao fight. And here, context is important. In life, context is important, and in boxing, context is important. Now, Pacquiao was an elite fighter. Here's a question. What do elite fighters do generally? They beat champions. Pacquiao ticks that box. And they beat other elite fighters. And I believe Pacquiao ticks that box. However, the Pacquiao of yesterday, figuratively speaking, is not the Pacquiao of today. And in boxing and in life, time matters. It matters in a multitude of ways. What am I saying here? I'm saying that Barrios fought Pacquiao in name, but he did not fight a prime Manny Pacquiao. So let's discuss the fight. Now, Barrios was patient. Generally speaking, being patient in boxing is a good thing, but I think he was too patient. Also, Barrios was struggling to land the jab. We got to give Manny Pacquiao some credit because that means he was avoiding the jab, but we also have to criticize or be critical of the fact that Barrios couldn't land the jab. But there was one thing that Barrios did well, and that was that he countered effectively at times, and he would counter in combinations. This was really good. He also countered Pacquiao's left, which was really good because that's Pacquiao's really strong punch. But here was the problem. In parts, Pacquiao would punch in phases. He would go through phases, and Barrios would not respond to this. And that was problematic. And that's probably how Pacquiao was able to steal a lot of the rounds. Now, Barrios did take the center of the ring, and this is a dominating position, which is good. However, he did not pressure Pacquiao effectively. And Barrios struggled with the speed. So what was the problems in this fight? How can we summarize it quickly? There was not enough jabs, not enough body work, not enough front foot pressure, not enough effective front foot pressure. He needed to go through the gears, but he didn't. He needed to dominate the second half of the fight, but he didn't. Did the power affect him? Did the speed affect him? Maybe. But for me, there was issues with his boxing IQ in this specific fight. Did his boxing identity betray him? Did it betray him? What does that mean? Well, Barrios' boxing identity, it looks like to me, is a person that waits for the counter. And it looks like that part of his identity, Manny Pacquiao took advantage of. So to me, this fight revealed a lot of weaknesses. Now, in nearly every fight, you'll have a sequence of questions. So, as in most fights, we have questions. And here are some questions that I have with regards to this fight. So can Barrios, can he take away that terrifying left hook? This to me is very significant. Can he take away Garcia's left hook? Because if he can, that will be a major advantage. And on their flip side, can Garcia land the left hook? Because if he can, that would be a major advantage to him. And then the next question would be, can Barrios land his own left hook? So can he take away Garcia's left hook and then implement his left hook into the fight? Can Barrios or Garcia win the jab battle? This will be so important in terms of picking up points, controlling distance, and introducing the backhand. Can Garcia dictate the fight with effective counterpunching? Garcia can counterpunch effectively, particularly with the left hook. And will Garcia's speed and will his power, will that be the significant factor? However, from a Barrios perspective, can he punch with the authority to get Garcia's respect and therefore control the distance and control the tempo? And here's a really intriguing question. It's always an important question when boxers get together. Who has the higher boxing IQ? Based on their last performances, that's a very hard question to answer. And will Barrios' trainer be a significant advantage, or will it be a significant disadvantage? Does Garcia have psychological scars from the Rolly loss, or can he make a transition? Has Barrios been affected by the draw to Pacquiao? Many people thought that Pacquiao won that fight. But whatever happens, there's some major ingredients here to create a real magnificent night. Now, consider this. If Garcia is optimal, this is a winnable fight for him. If, and it's a big if his dad is able to create an optimal boxing environment, this could be a sensational night for Ryan Garcia. But maybe, just maybe, from a Barrios perspective, Joe Goosen can reveal or build extra boxing IQ. And that extra boxing IQ could be significant for Barrios to take advantage. Perhaps, just perhaps, Garcia has the motivation to take the title, but Barrios looks like an introverted warrior. In other words, this has all the ingredients of being a truly great fight. So that is the end of the video. Now I'm trying to build a digital boxing community. So what does that mean? It means I'm interested in your comments, I'm interested in your questions, and I'm interested in your observations. Now, if you want to support the channel, all you have to do is simply like and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content, then click here or click here. As always, thank you for your time. It is much appreciated. Peace.